Hi everyone, welcome to this video. And in this video, I would love to talk about DPDR and driving. And you do have a lot of questions about how to cope with DPDR when you're driving, what happens if you get it when you are driving, the fact that it can trigger or make your DPDR worse, or in the opposite instant, it can actually make your DPDR better. And it is a very complex issue and it's sort of multi-layered. So there's a few things I'm going to chat about. And for those of you that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Dan, and I help people overcome their anxious thoughts so they can live a life DPDR free. So let's get into DPDR and driving. Driving with depersonalization. The issue of driving while suffering from DPDR is complex because it has many layers. Some of these layers are you could be scared of the thought of driving, which causes your DPDR in the first place. You could already have DPDR and ask, well, what if I experience it while I am driving? You could have DPDR, which is stopping you from even getting a license in the first place. Or you might experience DPDR while driving, which will make you forget where you are or where you're going. And there's lots of other things. So let's break down, first of all, some of the things that you tell yourself that are negative about DPDR and driving. Some negative things you say about driving and DPDR. It makes me super anxious every time I have to drive, especially if it's far from home. I get lost going to familiar places. The only thing that helps is having the map app on and having the voice talk to me through every single step. I'm so scared I'm going to have a really bad derealization episode in the car and something bad will happen. I stay in the right lane so I can pull over anytime I might need to. The only time I've had derealization while driving is when I go over 80 kilometers an hour. So I don't drive on the highway, but around the city is okay. I kept convincing myself I wasn't a block away from my home because nothing looked familiar. Driving triggers me pretty often, even being a passenger. I don't drive far from home in case it happens. It limits my life. Take a look at this list again, and I'm really curious to see if you've ever said any of these things or if you've ever experienced anything like this. I'm willing to bet you have, which is why you're watching this video. But please take hope. I'm going to explain in a minute what all this means and how you can sort of turn it around so driving's no longer an issue for you. The common things and elements with all of this is fear. The one unifying factor with all these statements is worry about the future. You are thinking or doing these statements that you said, and something that you tell yourself about that situation puts you in a state of fear. And so the DPDR continues. That's really important because some of these things might not even happen, but the worry of them potentially happening, and because you're focusing on the fact that they might happen, is almost self-fulfilling prophecy. What I mean by self-fulfilling prophecy is that you put that thought into your head of, what if DPDR happens while I'm driving? And then all of a sudden you'll say to yourself, hang on a minute, I'm driving and my DPDR isn't happening. And then you might be worried because you're like, well, I always get DPDR when I drive. Why isn't it happening now? And then boom, what do you expect is going to happen? You're going to start worrying about it, fretting about it, and your DPDR is going to come back. So that's what I mean about self-fulfilling prophecy. And what you focus on is what you get. If you're focusing on having DPDR while you're driving, then the chances are, even if it wasn't going to happen, because you are focusing on it, it is going to happen. Not all people experience negative thoughts associated with driving, and here are some of the benefits. Like driving helps me focus more. For me, it gets easier the more you do it, and I just avoid driving at night or anywhere busy. It tends to put me in an extra careful mode. Driving helps me relax. Driving distracts me, so I like it. So what do you do about it? What happens when you're driving and you experience some bad DPDR and you sort of start to panic? Coping with DPDR is the same whether you're driving, at work, walking, or sitting at home by yourself. First, you need to challenge whether what you're telling yourself is true. What evidence do you have that it's false? For example, was there a time you traveled a long distance and you didn't experience anything bad? So what was different about that time with driving compared to now when you drive and you feel bad? Do any coping strategies you have to help you through it. It will pass eventually. Most importantly is get to the core issues of what's making you anxious in the first place and work on that. What is it about traveling fast that scares you? Why do you not like traveling far from your home? What don't you like about driving? This is the really sort of harsh thing about DPDR here, and particularly with the anxious thoughts that come along with it. It's you're sort of focusing on the symptoms of, oh, I hate to drive because it makes my DPDR worse, but you're not focusing on the more important question, which is, why don't I like to drive? And you might say to me, well, Dan, because it makes my DPDR worse. But yeah, the reason that your DPDR is getting worse when you're driving is because there's something about driving which you don't like. If you are driving and feel like you can't, find the first place to pull over, like a gas station, a rest stop, basically wherever you can legally stop safely, and do what you need to do to get past it. Really, what I'm saying here is that the issues you have around DPDR and driving are no different to any of the other issues around DPDR. It's all about getting to the defensive state that you're putting yourself in. Why are you putting yourself in that defensive state? What are you saying to yourself or about the situation, which is making you a little bit scared or frightened or anxious about the future? And once you can get that and you can question it and you can challenge it and you can see if it's actually true and you can see if there's better things that you can say to yourself, then that's really the heart of the issue here about overcoming your DPDR, whether you're driving or overcoming your DPDR, no matter what you're doing. And that gets me to the point of overcoming your DPDR. It is entirely possible to overcome your anxious thoughts, to get rid of the derealization, get rid of the depersonalization, no matter how overwhelming it does feel. And I know that it is having a big impact on your life. Something you might not be aware of is because DPDR is having such a big impact on your life, you feel that potentially there needs to be some kind of massive solution or big answer or all these really big life-changing things you have to do. But really the answer is quite simple in regards to the DPDR. It's about breaking your DPDR habits, getting out of the cycle of thinking about it, and of course, getting to sort of the issues underlying all this stuff, which is some kind of anxious thinking, which is going on, sort of triggering the DPDR in the first place. And that's what I do with the people I help. We really go deep into these issues, and it actually gets resolved a little bit quicker than you think. So look, if you are having any problems with your DPDR and you just want to have a general chat to me about it, that's completely fine. You can reach me either in the comments of the video, or you can see all my contact details in the description of the video. And, let's have a chat. Let's see what's going on with you. Let's see what's happening with your life, whether it's to do with driving or anything else which could potentially be triggering it. And let's have a look at sort of the pathway out of that, how you can get your life back together again. And my friends, I really hope you've enjoyed the video and learned a little bit from it. And if you do like it or you've learned something, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. That would also be pretty cool. And until next time, I'll see you all on the next video. Bye.